Most brides worry about rain on their wedding day. I watched my parents walk into my reception wearing head-to-toe black, like they were burying me. 150 guests turned their heads. The whispering started before my mother even reached the microphone. She didn't wait for an invitation. She walked straight up to the stage, took the mic from our DJ's hand, and looked right at me. "We are mourning the daughter we lost." What she said next made my hands shake. But what my husband did after that, that's the part no one in that room will ever forget. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you all are. I'm Wanda, I'm 29, and this is the story of how my own family tried to rob me at my wedding. Now let me take you back 18 months, to the day I wrote a check that changed everything. I grew up in Macon Hills, Tennessee, the kind of town where everyone knows your business before you do. Population 4,000, one traffic light, and a church parking lot that doubles as the town gossip exchange every Sunday morning. In the Mosley household, there were two daughters. Brielle was the sun. I was the background. My sister could walk into any room and every head would turn. Blonde hair, easy laugh, a voice that made strangers feel like old friends. Our parents, Janet and Bobby Mosley, built their entire social identity around her. Dance recitals, homecoming court, church talent shows. If Brielle breathed, they clapped. I was different, quiet, steady. I got straight A's, worked the register at the farm supply store from 16, cooked dinner when Mom was too busy driving Brielle to rehearsals. None of that made the refrigerator, and I mean that literally. Our fridge was covered in Brielle's photos. Competition ribbons, prom pictures, a magazine clipping from the local paper when she won Miss Macon Hills Teen. My stuff? One photo, bottom corner, half hidden behind the church calendar. I taped my honor roll certificate up there once, right at eye level. By morning it was gone. I found it folded in the junk drawer. I didn't say anything. That's the thing about growing up invisible. After a while, you stop expecting to be seen. Your sister has a gift for connecting with people, Wanda. You're more of a behind-the-scenes kind of girl. That's what my mother said at Christmas dinner. 12 relatives at the table. I was 17. Everyone nodded like she'd said something kind. I smiled, cleared the plates, and told myself it didn't matter. It mattered. Fast forward 11 years. I'm 27, living in a small apartment across town, working double shifts as a veterinary technician at the county animal clinic. I love animals. Animals don't play favorites. One Tuesday evening, my phone rang. Mom. Wanda, we need you to come home. It's urgent. The house was falling apart. Roof leaking in 3 places. Foundation cracked along the east wall. The plumbing, original pipes from 1979, had burst twice in 6 months. Dad's pension and Mom's part-time bookkeeping barely covered groceries. A full renovation was out of the question, unless someone stepped in. There was a family meeting. Mom sat at the head of the kitchen table, Dad beside her, hands folded. I sat across from them. Brielle wasn't there. She'd texted the group chat an hour before. Sorry, super busy. You guys figure it out. So I figured it out. $85,000. 10 years of double shifts, skipped vacations, and dollar store shampoo. I handed it over in a single cashier's check. New roof, new foundation work, new plumbing, fresh paint inside and out. I coordinated with the contractors myself, drove over every weekend to check progress, ate peanut butter sandwiches in my car between the clinic and the job site. When it was done, the house looked better than it had in 30 years. Mom hugged me on the front porch. Her eyes were wet. This house is yours, Wanda. When we're gone, it goes to you. You earned it. Dad nodded. You earned it, kiddo. No lawyer, no paperwork, no deed transfer, just a promise between blood. That was the most expensive handshake of my life. I just didn't know it yet. 3 months after the renovation wrapped, a section of soffit on the back porch came loose. The previous crew had cut corners. Mom called me panicking, and I called around for a contractor who could fix it fast. That's how I met Cole Reston. He showed up in a dented white pickup, work boots, and a flannel with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, hands like sandpaper. Spoke maybe 40 words in the first hour. But when he did talk, every word landed exactly where it was supposed to. He fixed the soffit in an afternoon. I brought him iced tea and we sat on the tailgate of his truck, not saying much, watching the sun drop behind the tree line. It was the most comfortable silence I'd ever shared with another person. We started dating 2 weeks later. The first time Cole came to dinner at my parents' house, I could feel the temperature shift the moment he walked in. Mom looked at his calloused hands, his faded jeans, the truck parked in the driveway. "So, what exactly do you do?" she asked, pronouncing do like it had 3 syllables. Cole didn't flinch. "General contracting, residential mostly." That was all she said. Dad stared at his plate. Brielle happened to be visiting that week. She was sweet to Cole's face, all smiles and, "Oh, how fun." But later that night, through the thin walls of my old bedroom, I heard her on the phone with Mom. "He seems fine, but is that really the best Wanda can do?" I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Cole was asleep in the guest room downstairs, and he had no idea that the people in this house had already decided he wasn't enough. Just like me. 6 months after the renovation, I stopped by the house on a Saturday to grab a box of old textbooks from my closet. My closet was empty, not just the textbooks, everything. My posters, my high school yearbooks, the quilt Grandma Davis made for my 12th birthday, all of it gone, shoved into a plastic bin in the garage. The room had been repainted. Lavender, Brielle's favorite color. New throw pillows on the bed, a vanity mirror I'd never seen, a diffuser puffing eucalyptus into air that used to smell like my old vanilla candle. "Mom, what happened to my room?" She didn't even look up from her crossword. "Brielle needs a space when she visits. You don't live here anymore, Wanda." Something cold settled in my chest. I pushed past it. "Mom, can we talk about the house? About what you and Dad promised?" Dad was in the kitchen doorway. He heard me. I know he did, because his hand froze on his coffee mug. Mom set her pen down. "We'll figure it out when the time comes. Don't be pushy." "Pushy? I put 85,000 and we're grateful. But this is still our home. Don't make it awkward." Dad said nothing, just took his coffee and walked out to the porch. I drove home with the windows down, hoping the cold air would shake the feeling loose. It didn't. Cole was waiting at my apartment. He took one look at my face. "You okay?" "I don't know anymore." He didn't push. He just made me a grilled cheese and sat with me until I fell asleep on the couch. I should have listened to my gut that day, because the worst part hadn't even started. Cole proposed on a Sunday morning. No ring at first. Just him, standing in my tiny kitchen, holding 2 mugs of coffee and saying, "I want to build something with you. Not just houses." I said yes before he finished the sentence. I called Mom that afternoon. There was a pause on the line so long I checked if the call had dropped. "Already?" she said. Then, "Well, I suppose congratulations are in order." She didn't ask to see the ring. She didn't ask about the date. 1 week later, Brielle flew home, unannounced. She stayed 5 days, shopping trips with Mom, cooking with Dad, brunch at the cafe on Main Street. I saw the photos on Facebook. I wasn't invited, but the photos weren't the problem. My friend Darla, she works at the post office, knows everything that moves through Macon Hills, called me on a Wednesday night. "Hey, so, Brielle's been talking." "About what?" "About Cole. She told Patty Morrison and half the ladies at the salon that Cole pressured you into paying for the house, that he's got his eye on the property." I sat down on the edge of my bed. "That's not true." "I know, honey, but she said it like she was worried about you. Real convincing." I hung up and stared at the wall. My sister hadn't just insulted Cole behind closed doors anymore. She'd taken it public. In a town where a rumor at the salon hits every kitchen table by Sunday. And the worst part? She'd framed it as concern. "Between us, I think he's isolating her. She used to be so independent." That's what Darla said, Brielle told them, word for word, like she'd rehearsed it. 2 weeks later, Mom called. No small talk. No, "How are you?" Just a voice I barely recognized. Cold, clipped, certain. "Your father and I have been thinking, maybe the house should go to Brielle. She's struggling, Wanda. You have Cole." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. Mom, I put $85,000 into that house. That was a gift to your family. Don't throw it in our faces. A gift. 10 years of my life. Repackaged as a gift so they could hand the result to someone who texted you guys figure it out while I signed the check. I tried one more time. You and Dad promised. Promises change. Circumstances change. Brielle needs stability right now, and frankly, with Cole in the picture, I'm not sure your priorities are where they should be. There it was. Not just the house, not just the money. She was using Brielle's lies about Cole as justification. That night, Dad called. Separate phone. His voice was quiet, tired. Just let it go, kiddo. Your mom's mind is made up. And yours? A long pause. I don't want to lose anybody. You already are, Dad. He hung up first. I sat in the dark doing the math. $85,000. No documentation, no contract, no witnesses beyond a kitchen table promise. If I stayed silent, I would lose every cent. Brielle would sell that house the minute the deed was in her name, and my parents would never admit they'd been wrong. But if I fought back, I'd lose them entirely. I chose silence, not because I was afraid, because I didn't yet know how far they were willing to go. Cole found me at the kitchen table at midnight, staring at a bank statement on my laptop screen. The $85,000 transfer, highlighted in yellow, dated 22 months ago. He pulled up a chair. Didn't say anything at first, just looked at the screen, then at me. Tell me everything. So I did. Mom's call, Dad's resignation, Brielle's rumor campaign, the room painted lavender, all of it. Cole listened without interrupting. When I finished, his jaw was tight, but his voice was steady. Do you have the receipts from the renovation, the bank transfers? I nodded. Every email, every invoice, the bank statements right here. What about the contractor? Would he remember? Greg Holloway. He'd remember. I called him every week for 4 months. Cole leaned back. He folded his arms, and I could see him thinking, not reacting, not fuming, just calculating, like he was reading blueprints for a building that hadn't been built yet. Good. Keep all of that. Screenshots. Save them somewhere safe, not just your email. And Wanda? Don't confront them. Not yet. What are you thinking? He looked at me, not angry, not pitying, just certain. I'm not going to let them take what's yours, but we do this smart. He squeezed my hand once, then stood up, rinsed his mug, and went to bed like it was any other Tuesday. But it wasn't any other Tuesday. Because starting that night, I noticed something. Cole began spending an extra hour on his laptop every evening after dinner. He didn't explain. I didn't ask. I trusted him. And that turned out to be the best decision I ever made. We set the wedding for June 14th. Small budget, no help from my parents. Cole and I would pay for everything ourselves. A barn venue outside town, a local caterer, wildflowers from the farmer's market. Nothing fancy. Just ours. Mom made her position clear early. I'm not paying for a wedding to a man I don't approve of. We didn't ask you to, I said. She hung up. I expected the cold shoulder. What I didn't expect was what showed up on Facebook the following Saturday. A photo. Mom and Brielle, side by side, at a bridal boutique in Nashville. Brielle holding a white gown against her body. Mom beaming. Caption. Mother-daughter day. Brielle wasn't engaged. She didn't even have a boyfriend. Not one Mom knew about anyway. My phone buzzed. Kenna, are you seeing this? I stared at the photo. 47 likes. Comments. So gorgeous. And can't wait for the big day. And lucky mama. Not one person asked whose wedding they were shopping for. Because in the Mosley family, there was only one daughter worth celebrating. I didn't comment. I didn't react. I locked my phone, set it face down on the counter, and went back to addressing our wedding invitations by hand. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed replaying that photo, my mother's smile, the way she had her arm around Brielle like she was the bride, like I didn't exist. Cole rolled over. You're thinking too loud. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Just remember, people who need an audience to feel powerful always need a bigger one next time. I didn't fully understand what he meant. Not until the wedding. 3 weeks before the wedding, I drove to my parents' house to grab the last of my things from the garage. An old lamp, some winter clothes, a box of Christmas ornaments Grandma Davis left me. Brielle's car was in the driveway. I almost turned around. But my stuff was my stuff, and I was done rearranging my life around her schedule. The garage side door was unlocked. I stepped in, found my box, and started loading it into my trunk. That's when I heard her voice. Drifting through the open window above the garage, clear as a bell, Brielle was on FaceTime upstairs, laughing. Once I get that house, I'm listing it. Travis and I checked the comps. Easy 450. I froze, my hand on the box, my heart in my throat. A man's voice, tinny through the speaker. Your parents still don't know about me? Not yet. I'll introduce you after the house thing is done. One bomb at a time, babe. He laughed. She laughed louder. Then she said it. The sentence that rearranged every memory I had of the last 2 years. I told them Cole was only with Wanda for the property. They ate it up. Honestly, it was too easy. A pause. Then, Wanda's an idiot for pouring 85 grand into a house she'll never own. I stood there in that garage, my hands shaking, a box of Grandma's ornaments rattling against my chest. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Every instinct told me to storm upstairs, to scream, to confront her with her own words still echoing off the walls. I didn't. I set the box down, walked to my car, and drove home in silence. That was the smartest thing I've ever done. I made it to the kitchen table before I broke. Not a big cry, just tears running quiet down my face while I sat there gripping the edge of the table like it might float away. Cole came in from the yard. He saw me and set down his water bottle without a word, pulled a chair beside me, waited. I heard her, Cole, Brielle, on the phone. I told him what she said. Every word. The listing price, the boyfriend, the lie about him. When I got to the part where she called me an idiot, my voice cracked. Not from the insult, but from the realization that my parents had rewritten their opinion of the man I loved based on a story my sister invented over FaceTime with a boyfriend they didn't even know existed. Cole didn't slam the table, didn't raise his voice. He sat very still and asked one question. Did you record it? I shook my head. Next time, keep your phone on record, just in case. He was quiet for a moment. Then, they're planning something for the wedding. I can feel it. Let me handle the slideshow setup. I blinked. The slideshow? I told the DJ I'd put together a photo reel for the reception. Let me manage that. It seemed like a small thing. A husband wanting to handle the wedding slideshow. But the way he said it, calm, deliberate, like a man measuring twice before he cuts, told me it wasn't small at all. If they want to make a scene, we'll let them. And then we'll make sure everyone sees the truth. I didn't ask him to explain. Cole wasn't a man who made promises he couldn't keep. Whatever he was building, I'd see it when it was done. Okay, I need to pause here for a second. Looking back, I know some of you might be thinking, why didn't you just cut them off right then? And honestly, I asked myself that too. But when it's your parents, the people who fed you, drove you to school, sat beside your bed when you had the flu, walking away isn't as simple as it sounds from the outside. So let me ask you, if you heard your sibling say those exact words about you, calling you an idiot, planning to sell your investment out from under you, what would your next move be? Tell me in the comments. Now, back to what happened next, because it got worse. Cole didn't talk about what he was doing. He just did it. Over the next 2 weeks, I'd catch glimpses. His laptop open on the kitchen counter at 6 in the morning. A manila folder on his desk that wasn't there before. A phone call taken outside on the porch, voice too low for me to hear. One night, I came out of the shower and found him at the table with printed bank statements, mine, spread out in neat rows, highlighted, annotated. Those are my transfers to Greg Holloway, I said. Every one of them. 8 payments over 4 months, totaling $85,247. He didn't look up. I also pulled the email chain between you and Greg. Every invoice, every work order. Cole, what are you? I talked to a real estate attorney today. Name's Mitchell Farrow, out of Cookville. I sat down. A lawyer? Just a conversation. He said if you contributed a significant amount to the property, documented, traceable, and they try to deny you any interest, You have a strong case. Unjust enrichment. Tennessee recognizes it. He said it the way he'd say, the roof needs flashing. Factual, no drama. I'm not trying to take their house, Cole. I know, neither am I. He looked at me then. But if they try to take what's yours on our wedding day, I want the truth ready. He held up a USB drive. Small, black, ordinary. Slideshow backup, he said, and he slipped it into his shirt pocket. I watched him organize the papers back into the folder, finish his coffee, and rinse the mug, like it was any other evening. I didn't know what was on that USB. Not yet. I wouldn't know until the night of the wedding. 2 weeks before the wedding. I drove over to my parents' house to return a baking dish Mom had left at our place months ago. A quick drop-off. 5 minutes, tops. I didn't call ahead. Maybe I should have. The front door was unlocked. I walked through the foyer, dish in hand, and turned the corner into the kitchen. All 3 of them were at the table. Mom, Dad, and Brielle. Papers spread across the surface. A pen between Mom's fingers. Dad's reading glasses low on his nose. The moment I appeared, the conversation stopped. Not a pause, a full stop, like someone had hit mute on a television. Brielle's hand moved fast. She flipped a page face down. Mom's eyes darted to the paper, then back to me. Wanda, we didn't hear you come in. I was returning your dish. I held it up. Oh, thank you. Mom's smile was tight. Practiced. I set the dish on the counter. My eyes swept the table. I couldn't help it. Most of the papers were covered, but one corner of the page Brielle had flipped was still visible. I saw 4 letters, printed in bold. Quit. The beginning of a word. I didn't need to see the rest. Just going over some boring bills, Mom said. She was already gathering the pages into a stack. Of course, I smiled. I'll get out of your hair. I walked out slowly. I didn't run. I didn't accuse. In the car, I pulled out my phone and typed 2 words into the search bar. Quitclaim deed. A legal document that transfers property interest from one person to another. No sale required, no warranty, just a signature. They weren't just talking about taking the house anymore. They were drawing up the paperwork. 1 week before the wedding. A Tuesday afternoon. I was home, folding laundry, when the doorbell rang. Brielle. Standing on my porch in a linen sundress, hair curled, smile wide, like she was dropping off a casserole. Hey sis, got a minute? She walked in before I answered, sat at the kitchen table, pulled a single sheet of paper from her bag, and slid it across the surface. The header read, Acknowledgement of Gift. I picked it up. The language was simple. 1 paragraph. It stated that I, Wanda Mosley, acknowledge that my financial contribution of $85,000 toward the renovation of the Mosley family home was a voluntary gift, made without conditions, expectations, or claims to ownership. A signature line at the bottom, my name printed underneath. It's just a formality, Brielle said. She tilted her head, eyes soft. Mom wants peace of mind before the wedding. You know how she worries. I read it again, every word. Then I folded it, set it on the table, and looked at my sister. I'm not signing this, Brielle. The softness in her face flickered, just for a half second, a flash of something cold behind the smile. Then the mask came back. Fine, we'll talk about it later. She stood, grabbed her bag, and walked to the door. See you at the wedding. She left the paper on the table. Whether she forgot or left it on purpose, I'll never know. But I know this. Cole came home 20 minutes later, saw the document, and photographed every inch of it, front and back. Then he slid it into the manila folder without a word. I didn't spend 10 years saving to sign it away in 10 seconds. That's what I told my empty kitchen after she left. June 14th. My wedding day. Kenna laced the back of my dress in the bridal suite. A converted tack room with a full-length mirror propped against a barn beam. Simple white dress, no train. Red lipstick, my grandmother's pearl earrings that I'd kept in a velvet pouch since I was 19. You look incredible, Kenna said. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal, also incredible. The venue was a restored barn 20 minutes outside Macon Hills. String lights draped from the rafters, long wooden farm tables, mason jars stuffed with wildflowers Cole had picked that morning. 150 guests. My co-workers from the animal clinic, Cole's crew from the contracting business, neighbors, old friends, a few of Cole's cousins from Knoxville. The ceremony was outdoors, under an oak tree. When I came around the corner and saw Cole standing at the altar in a charcoal gray suit, his eyes turned red before I even reached him. He blinked hard, bit his lip, took my hands like he was holding something he'd been waiting for his whole life. Then Kenna touched my arm. Wanda. Her voice was strange, tight. You need to see this. I turned. Through the side window of the barn I could see the parking lot. A silver sedan had just pulled in. The door opened. Mom stepped out, head to toe in black. A long black dress, black cardigan, black shoes, funeral clothes. Behind her, Dad. Black suit, black tie, black expression, and behind him, Brielle. Also black. A fitted black dress and heels, sunglasses pushed up on her head. 3 people dressed for a burial, walking toward my wedding. Say the word, and I will lock that door, Kenna whispered. I didn't say the word. I wish I had. I didn't lock the door. I didn't cancel the ceremony. I did what I'd been doing my entire life in the Mosley family. I carried on. The 3 of them took seats in the front row, black against a sea of pastels and summer florals. 150 people noticed. Nobody said a word. A woman on Cole's side, his Aunt Margine, leaned over to her husband and whispered something behind her program. I could read her lips from the altar. Is someone dead? The officiant kept going. I kept standing. My hands were in Cole's, and his thumbs pressed into my palms every time I started to tremble. During the vows, Cole went off script. Just one line. I will always protect what's ours. Not yours. Not mine. Ours. He held my eyes when he said it, but I saw Mom shift in her seat. Brielle crossed her arms. Dad stared at his shoes. We kissed. The crowd erupted. Cheers, whistles, Kenna ugly crying into a handkerchief. Everyone was on their feet. Everyone except 3 people in the front row. Mom sat rigid, hands clasped in her lap, black dress stark against the white folding chair. Brielle sat beside her with a small smile. Not a happy smile, the kind of smile you wear when you know something no one else does. Dad just looked tired, like a man who'd been told where to sit and what to wear and had stopped asking why a long time ago. I told myself it was fine. They'd made their statement. Black clothes, front row, stone faces, fine, let them mourn. I was alive and married and standing in the sunlight, and I refused to let them pull me into the dark. But they weren't done. The reception started beautifully. String lights glowing. First dance. Cole spun me slow under a canopy of Edison bulbs while our guests clinked glasses and the caterers set out plates. Then the DJ tapped the microphone. We'd love to open the floor for toasts. He didn't finish. My mother was already moving. She crossed the dance floor in 4 strides, took the microphone from the DJ's hand, not a grab, but firm enough that he let go out of sheer surprise, and turned to face the room. 150 people went silent. I want everyone here to know we are in mourning tonight. A murmur rippled through the tables. We are losing our daughter to a man who married her for our family home. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it had been filled with concrete. She wasn't done. Wanda, if you have any love left for this family, you will sign a document right now releasing any claim to our house. Your sister needs that home, not some outsider. She pointed at Cole, at my husband, at the man who'd just promised me forever under an oak tree 30 minutes ago. Bobby stood up beside her. He didn't speak. He just stood, a silent wall of endorsement. And then Brielle rose from her chair. She reached into her bag and pulled out a document, the same one she'd brought to my apartment, the acknowledgement of gift. She held it up, visible to the entire room, and walked toward me. She set the paper on the table in front of me, placed a pen on top, and she smiled. Not a nervous smile, not an embarrassed smile, the smile of someone who had already won. Silence. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that presses against your eardrums and makes the room feel like it's shrinking. 150 pairs of eyes locked onto me. The bride in white, sitting at her own reception table, a pen and a legal document placed in front of her like a verdict. Brielle leaned down, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Just sign it. It was never yours anyway. I looked at the paper, then at the pen, then at my sister's face. Calm, certain, already rehearsing her victory speech. Then I looked at my parents, Mom clutching the microphone like a gavel, Dad standing beside her with empty eyes. Two people I had fed, cleaned for, poured every dollar I'd ever saved into, and they couldn't even look at me without resentment. My hands were flat on the table. I didn't pick up the pen. I didn't cry. Kenna was on her feet. I could see her from the corner of my eye, jaw tight, fists clenched, ready to charge. She was about to say something she'd regret on my behalf, and I loved her for it. But then a hand landed gently on Kenna's shoulder. Cole. He stood up from beside me, slow, deliberate. He buttoned his suit jacket, one button, the way he always does, and gave me a look. Steady eyes, a small nod, the kind that said, I got this. Then he walked away from the table, past the dance floor, past the bar, toward the DJ booth, where his laptop sat connected to the projector screen. He picked up the remote. 150 people watched my husband point a small black remote at a glowing white screen. Nobody, not even I, knew what was about to appear. All right, I have to be honest with you for a second. This is the part of the story I've replayed in my head 1,000 times. When Brielle put that pen in front of me, I almost picked it up. Not because she was right, but because part of me just wanted the humiliation to stop. 150 people watching the worst moment of your life. That weight is something I can't fully describe. So tell me, if you were sitting in that chair, in your wedding dress, with every person you know staring at you, would you have signed, or would you have waited? Drop your answer in the comments. What comes next is the reason I'm glad I didn't touch that pen. Cole didn't rush. He set the remote on the DJ table, leaned toward the laptop, and clicked twice. The projector screen, which had been cycling through wedding photos all evening, went dark for 1 second. Then it lit up again. The first image wasn't a photo of us. It was a bank statement. My bank statement. A highlighted wire transfer of $85,000, dated 22 months prior, routed directly to Holloway Construction, LLC. The memo line read, Mosley Family Home, full renovation. The murmuring started immediately. Heads turned, phones came up. Cole didn't speak. He just pressed the remote. Next slide. A printed email chain between me and Greg Holloway. 4 months of invoices, material lists, progress photos. The final line, total project cost, $85,247. Paid in full by Wanda Mosley. I watched my mother's hand slowly lower the microphone. Brielle's smile dimmed like a bulb on a dying circuit. Cole pressed again. Before and after photos of the house, side by side. The crumbling porch next to the rebuilt porch, the cracked foundation next to the sealed foundation, the rusted pipes next to gleaming copper, each set labeled, funded by Wanda Mosley. The room wasn't whispering anymore. People were leaning forward, reading every word on that screen like it was a courtroom exhibit. Aunt Margene, Cole's aunt, put her hand over her mouth. But Cole wasn't done, and the money wasn't the part that made them run. He looked at me across the room. One more nod. Then he pressed the remote again, and the screen changed to something I had never seen before. Text messages, screenshots, blown up to 6 feet wide. My heart stopped. The first screenshot filled the screen, an iMessage conversation. Contact name at the top, Travis Keene. Brielle's outgoing messages in blue. 150 people read it at the same time. Brielle, Mom and Dad are so gullible, LOL. I told them Cole is only with Wanda for the house. They bought it immediately. The sound that moved through the room wasn't a gasp. It was lower. A collective exhale, like the air had been punched out of every chest at once. Cole pressed the remote. Brielle, once I get that house, I'm listing it. Travis and I checked. Easy $450,000. Chairs creaked. Someone at the back table stood up for a better look. Another click. Brielle, Wanda's an idiot for paying $85,000 into a house she'll never own. Dead silence. Then a woman at table 9, I think it was Paula from the clinic, said, Oh my God, loud enough for the whole barn to hear. Cole pressed one final time. The last slide. A photograph of the acknowledgement of gift document. The one Brielle had brought to my apartment. The one she'd just placed in front of me, minutes ago, with a pen and a smile. The text was clear enough for every guest to read. It asked me to declare my $85,000 a voluntary gift with no claim to ownership. Cole turned away from the screen and looked at my family. His voice was calm, not loud, not angry, just clear. That's who told you your daughter's fiancé was a gold digger, your other daughter. Mom turned to Brielle. Brielle opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The pen was still on the table in front of me. I hadn't touched it. The room cracked open. Aunt Marjean's voice carried from table 4. Lord have mercy. Then the noise came. Not shouting, just the low roar of 150 people processing the same betrayal at the same time. Whispers became sentences. Sentences became open conversation. Heads shook, eyes widened, phones lit up under tables. Brielle moved first. She snatched her bag from the chair, clutched it to her chest like a shield, and turned for the exit. Her heels cracked against the barn floor, fast, uneven, almost tripping on the threshold. Mom stood frozen at the microphone. The mic hung at her side, still on, picking up her breathing, quick and shallow, broadcast to every speaker in the room. Bobby, she said, voice shaking. Bobby, say something. Dad didn't say something. He shook his head once. Slowly. Then he took Mom's elbow. Not gently, not roughly, just mechanically, and steered her toward the door. We need to go. Now. Mom's heels clicked across the wooden floor. The microphone dropped from her hand and hit the stage with a dull thud that echoed through the speakers. She didn't pick it up. The barn door opened. June night air rushed in. 3 black silhouettes disappeared into the parking lot. An engine started. Headlights swept across the windows. Then they were gone. The silence lasted maybe 4 seconds. Then Cole walked back to our table, sat down beside me, and took my hand under the tablecloth. He turned toward the room. Same calm voice. Sorry about the delay, folks. The bar's still open. The laugh started at table 6 and spread like a wave. Then the applause. Then Kenna, sobbing into her champagne, raising her glass. I didn't cry. Not because I was strong. Because I was finally free. We danced until midnight. The caterers ran out of pulled pork. Kenna gave a toast that made every woman in the room cry, including herself, twice. 2 of Cole's cousins started a line dance that lasted 6 songs. Nobody mentioned my parents for the rest of the night. Not out loud, anyway. The next morning, Cole and I sat across from Mitchell Farrow in his office in Cookville. Wood-paneled walls, a ceiling fan clicking overhead, and a man who looked like he'd been practicing law since before I was born. He reviewed everything. Bank statements, email chains, contractor invoices, the before and after photos, the screenshot of the acknowledgement of gift document. This is clean, he said, tapping the folder. Traceable funds, documented improvements, no reimbursement. Tennessee courts recognize unjust enrichment claims. You've got a strong case. I don't want the house, I said. Farrow looked at me over his glasses. What do you want? My $85,000 back. That's it. He nodded. Drew up the civil claim that afternoon. Unjust enrichment. Recovery of funds contributed to a property under an unfulfilled promise. He attached every receipt, every transfer record, every photograph. The notice was sent to Janet and Robert Mosley by certified mail 3 days later. Included was a note from Farrow. Please be advised that the submitted acknowledgement of gift document, which your family attempted to have Miss Mosley sign, demonstrates awareness that the contribution was not, in fact, a gift. I didn't want their house. I didn't want revenge. I wanted exactly what I'd put in, not $1 more, not $1 less. I didn't want their house, I told Cole on the drive home. I wanted my money and my dignity, both. He reached across the console and held my hand. You've got both. 8 days after the wedding, my phone rang. Mom. I almost didn't answer, but something, maybe habit, maybe that stubborn thread of hope that never fully dies, made me pick up. Her voice was different, smaller. The command was gone. What replaced it wasn't warmth. It was disorientation. Like someone who'd walked into a room and forgotten why. Wanda? We need to talk about this lawyer letter. There's nothing to talk about, Mom. My attorney will handle it from here. You hired a lawyer? Against your own parents? You wore funeral clothes to my wedding, Mom. Silence. Then the pivot, the one I'd been expecting. You're tearing this family apart. Is this what Cole told you to do? Is this his idea? Same playbook, different day. I didn't wear black to your wedding, Mom. I heard her breath catch. For once, she didn't have a response. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up, set the phone face down, poured myself a glass of water, and stood at the kitchen window watching Cole mow the yard next door for our elderly neighbor. Even when everything was on fire, that man mowed lawns. 2 days later, a text from Dad. Just 5 words. I should have spoken up. Then, I'm sorry. I read it 3 times. I sat with it for a long time, turning those words over in my hands like something fragile. I thought about responding. I typed out 4 different replies and deleted every one. I wasn't ready, not yet. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip, it's a road you walk, and I hadn't decided yet whether I wanted to start walking. But I didn't delete his message. That was something. In a town like Macon Hills, you don't need the internet for news to go viral. You just need one church potluck. Within a week, everyone knew. The veterinary clinic receptionist. The guy at the hardware store. The teller at First Tennessee Credit Union. They'd either been at the wedding themselves or heard it from someone who was. Brielle worked at Pennington Realty, a small brokerage on Main Street run by a woman named Gail Pennington. Gail had been at the wedding, table 7. She'd watched the whole thing unfold with a glass of Merlot in one hand and her jaw on the floor. Monday morning, Gail called Brielle into her office and closed the door. I saw those texts, Brielle. Every person at that wedding saw them. Gail, I can explain. I sell houses based on trust. I can't have someone with that kind of judgment representing my listings. Brielle was let go that afternoon. Then came Travis, the secret boyfriend, the man who was supposed to split the $450,000 payday. He vanished. Blocked her on every platform. Phone, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. She called. No answer. She texted. Blue bubbles with no reply. That's the thing about people who are only there for the upside. When the upside disappears, so do they. A few days later, Kenna forwarded me a screenshot. Brielle had posted an old photo of the 2 of us, from a family barbecue years ago, with the caption, "Sisters forever, so grateful for family." She's doing damage control, Kenna said. I stared at the photo. 2 girls in the sun, arms around each other. I barely recognized either of them. I didn't respond. I didn't repost. I didn't comment. Some things don't need a response. They need a boundary. 6 weeks after the wedding, Mitchell Farrow called. They've agreed to settle. I pulled over to the side of the road to take the call. I was on my way home from the clinic, still in scrubs, dog hair on my sleeve. What are the terms? Full repayment, $85,000 over 36 months, equal installments, and you'll have a lien on the property until the balance is paid. Standard protection. The house? Stays in their name. This was never about ownership, and the agreement reflects that. I leaned my head back against the seat, closed my eyes. $85,000. Coming back. Not because I'd screamed or threatened or posted a single word on social media, because I had receipts, because Cole had organized them, because Mitchell Farrow had turned a kitchen table betrayal into a clean legal document. Do I need to see them? No. Everything's handled through my office. They sign there, you sign here. No face-to-face required. Good. I signed the agreement the following Tuesday. A quiet room, a steady pen, my name on a line that actually meant something this time. Cole was in the waiting room reading a Field and Stream magazine. When I came out, he looked up. Done? Done. He stood, tossed the magazine on the chair, and held the door open for me. We drove home with the windows down and the radio playing something neither of us really listened to. It was enough to just sit in the quiet of a finished thing. I didn't need their house. I needed them to acknowledge what I gave. And now, in black and white, On paper with a legal seal. They had. That was worth more than any property deed. Mom stopped going to church for 2 months. In Macon Hills, that's the equivalent of a public resignation. Sunday mornings at First Baptist weren't just about worship. They were the social scoreboard, and Janet Mosley had held a front row seat for 25 years. Head of the welcome committee, first to arrive, last to leave. The woman who organized every potluck, every bake sale, every holiday pageant. After the wedding, she disappeared. The front pew sat empty. When she finally came back in August, she slipped in through the side entrance and sat in the third to last row. Alone. Nobody confronted her. This was Tennessee. People didn't make scenes, they just adjusted. Conversations got shorter, invitations stopped coming. The casserole train that used to arrive whenever someone was sick skipped the Mosley porch. Dad handled it differently. He started spending more time in the garden, alone, up early, out until dark, hands in the dirt like he was trying to grow something he couldn't name. He called me every 2 weeks, short calls, never more than 5 minutes. How's the clinic? Busy, good busy. Cole doing okay? He's great, Dad. Good, that's good. Awkward, stilted, but consistent. Every other Sunday. Like clockwork. Brielle moved to Nashville at the end of July, packed up in a weekend and left without a goodbye dinner. She didn't call Mom, she didn't call Dad, she didn't call me. When there was nothing left to take, Brielle left. I think that was the part that broke my mother more than anything. Not the wedding, not the lawyer letter, not the town's quiet judgment. It was realizing that the daughter she'd chosen, the golden child she'd built her world around, had never planned to stay. She was only ever there for the house. Cole found the house in September, a 2-bedroom fixer-upper on Ridgeline Road, just past the county line. Overgrown yard, peeling siding, a kitchen that hadn't been updated since the 80s. The asking price was low enough to make a real estate agent wince. It's got good bones, Cole said, standing in the driveway with his hands on his hips, squinting at the roofline like he was already drawing plans in his head. It's got a raccoon in the attic. I'll negotiate with the raccoon. We bought it. Cash from the first few settlement payments, plus what we'd been saving. Our names on the deed, both of them, in ink. Cole did the renovation himself. Evenings and weekends, 1 room at a time. New floors, new countertops. Repaired the porch. I planted a vegetable garden along the south fence. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs. Something alive and growing that was purely ours. Kenna came over most Saturdays. She'd bring wine and gossip and sit on the porch while Cole cut trim in the garage and I planted basil. It was simple, ordinary, perfect. In October, a birthday card arrived in the mailbox. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Dad's. I opened it at the kitchen table. A drugstore card with a cartoon cake on the front. Inside, in careful ballpoint, "Happy birthday, kiddo. Proud of you." No signature from Mom, just Dad. I held it for a long time. Then I walked to the refrigerator, our refrigerator, in our house, and I stuck it right in the center, eye level. No church calendar blocking it. No stack of someone else's photos crowding it out. For the first time in 29 years, my name was the first thing I saw on a refrigerator. I don't hate my parents. I know that might surprise some of you after everything I just told you. But hate takes energy I'd rather spend on something that grows. What I do hate is the version of myself who sat at that kitchen table at 27 and handed over a cashier's check without asking for a single piece of paper in return. The girl who thought love and trust were the same thing. They're not. Love is a feeling. Trust is a contract. And every contract needs terms. My mother exploited a promise she never intended to keep. My sister invented a lie so convincing it turned my parents against the best man I've ever known. And my father, the man who taught me to ride a bike and bait a hook, stood there in a black suit and said nothing. But here's what I've learned, and I'm sharing it because I wish someone had said it to me 10 years ago. Loving someone doesn't mean handing them a blank check, literally or emotionally. There are still nights when I lie awake and see it. Mom at the microphone, Brielle's smile, the pen on the table, 150 faces watching me at the lowest moment of my life. Those images don't go away. I don't think they're supposed to. They're not wounds anymore. They're the scar tissue that reminds me where my limit is. But every morning I walk through my own front door, a door I helped pay for, attached to a house with my name on the deed, and I remember that I chose myself. I chose the man who stood up when everyone else sat down, and I'd do it again, every single time. Thanksgiving, 6 months after the wedding, Cole and I hosted. Our house, our kitchen, our table. A second-hand oak table he'd refinished with 3 coats of polyurethane and sanded until it was smooth enough to write on. Kenna came. A few friends from the clinic. 2 of Cole's cousins from Knoxville. A 7-pound turkey, cornbread dressing, and a sweet potato casserole that Cole made from his grandmother's recipe, which he will take to his grave before he shares. We'd just sat down when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the name. Dad. I stepped into the hallway. "Hey, kiddo." "Hey, Dad." A pause. The kind that lasts long enough to hear someone swallow. "Your mom isn't ready yet, but Can I come by? Just for an hour?" I looked through the doorway at Cole. He must have read my face because he raised his eyebrows. A question. I held up the phone and mouthed Dad. Cole nodded once. "Bring pie, Bobby," Cole called, loud enough for the phone to pick it up. Dad arrived 40 minutes later with a store-bought pecan pie and shoes that were too clean for a man who spent every morning in the garden. He stood on the porch like he wasn't sure he had the right house. He ate turkey. He complimented the dressing. He asked Cole about the porch railing and actually listened, to the answer. Before he left, he hugged me, both arms, tight. The kind of hug that says everything a man like Bobby Mosley doesn't know how to put into words. I didn't say I forgive you. Not yet. That word is too big to rush. But I opened the door. And for now, that's enough. If you're watching this and you're in a family where your love is measured by how much you're willing to give up, I want you to know something. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to love someone and still say no. You're allowed to care about your parents and still protect yourself. You're allowed to walk away from a table where you're only welcome when you're serving. Setting a boundary isn't betrayal. It isn't selfishness. It isn't being ungrateful. You know what is? Sitting in silence while the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones doing the damage. That's the real betrayal. And it's the one you're committing against yourself. My mother hasn't called me since that day in the lawyer's office. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. That's her road to walk, and I can't carry her down it. My father calls every other Sunday, 5 minutes, awkward, consistent. He's trying. I see it. My sister is somewhere in Nashville. I don't know what she's doing. I don't check. The thread between us was cut cleanly, and I've stopped looking for the other end. Cole taught me something that I carry everywhere now. He said it the night before the wedding, while we were packing the car with table centerpieces and a cooler full of sweet tea. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to stand still and let the truth do the talking. I'm Wanda. I'm 29, and this is my house. Nobody else's name on it. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. You just get to choose who walks through. And for the first time in my life, I'm the one holding the key. That's my story. If it reminded you of something you've been through, or something you're still going through right now, please leave a comment. I read every single one, and I promise you, you're not alone in this. If you know someone who needs to hear this today, share it with them. Sometimes one story is all it takes to make someone realize they're allowed to stand up. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I've linked another story in the description that I think you'll really want to hear. It's about a woman whose family tried to erase her from a will. She didn't let them. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.